The book is Stronger, and the author is with us, Clayton King. In fact, Clayton's been with us for a good part of the month, and we have been benefiting from his insights and his wisdom and from your transparency. This book, subtitled How Hard Times Reveal God's Greatest Power, is really about a lot of stuff that happened in your life where brokenness came. You lost a lot of family members within about a decade, just over a decade of time. 9 family members died on an average of every 16 months. You take us through that journey. You take us through the healing that's taking place. Then you move into the importance of God's presence and your dependence upon God. But then you move into an area here, I think this one was a hard one for you to write about. It's very personal. It's called regret. Yeah. So how hard times reveal God's greatest power. What role does regret play in making you stronger?
You know, being honest, when I wrote the book, this was the most difficult chapter for me. I had to dig down deep into my soul. I had to tap into a wounded part of myself that I still don't think I had allowed God to fully heal, but through writing the book, I was able to allow God access to that part of my story. And when we regret something, and everybody does, we usually regret something in one of 2 ways. I messed up, or I missed out. Those are the 2 big ways we regret. I messed up. I drank too much in college and got in trouble with the law. I stole this money. I cheated on my spouse. I messed up. But then there's also this regret of I missed out. I wish I had studied more in school.
If only.
If only I had married him and not him, or her and not her.
Or if I'd gone to this big university with a major football team, versus going to a small Christian college.
Which is what I went to, right?
You heard that
And
story.
so,
If only.
If only. And so those 2 sources of regret, I messed up and I missed out, can really haunt us for life if we don't learn how to give that regret to God.
And people live with this.
For years, for decades.
Into their senior years.
Some of the most miserable people that I've ever met in my life are older men and women who have never given that regret over to God for redemption. And here was what I had to do. I had to tell the true story of my greatest regret. And it's a real simple mistake that I made that I had to allow God to give me grace for. I was not with my father when he died.
How'd that happen? What took place?
My family had not had a vacation in 18 months because I'd been taking care of my father in the nursing home. So we went to the beach for a few days to go visit my wife's grandparents. And the second day on vacation, finally able to relax, we were going to go fishing and play miniature golf, and I got a phone call that my dad had had another heart attack on dialysis. Then they put my father on the phone. He said, "Son, I decided I'm ready to die. Going to take me off of all medication, off the machine. Will you come and stay with me, sit by my side and hold my hand until I meet Jesus?" And I was with him for almost 3 days in the hospital, and we moved him to a hospice facility. But when we got to the hospice facility, my dad was on so much pain medication, that was the only thing he was taking, that he essentially passed out and was resting.
Yes.
My children had their baseball banquet that night, both of my sons. I had missed every game that season except for maybe 2 or 3. And I was regretting the fact that I had missed my children's baseball season.
Sure.
So I decided I was going to leave my dad's room at hospice. I was going to drive an hour north to where we lived in North Carolina at the time, attend their banquet, and then drive immediately back.
Come back, be with Dad.
And the banquet went late. It started late. By the time that it was over, it was 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night. I was exhausted from 3 days and nights in the hospital, sleeping in a recliner. And I fell asleep on the bed in my house, fully clothed. And I had my alarm already set for 5:30 a.m. just in case. At 5:20 a.m., they called me from hospice and they said, "Get here now. Your dad's about to die."
Yeah.
20 minutes later, before I could even get there, they called and said that he was gone. So when I did arrive at hospice and went into the room with my father's body, I had to really come face to face with the fact that I didn't keep my promise. It wasn't my intention, but I had to give that to the Lord.
But that could beat you up.
Oh.
And people allow that to beat you up. I was over here in this part of our studio the day I got a call from a friend of my family saying Dad was in hospice in Atlanta, and basically saying, we think he's got maybe a day. Well, we're trying to make flight arrangements and trying to get from Toronto to Atlanta, and got to the airport, and no, right before I got to the airport. The same guy that picked you up from the airport today is the guy that took me to the airport. Got out of my condo. As soon as I was getting out of my condo, I got a call from my wife. Said, "John, your dad's passed away."
Wow.
And I couldn't get there.
Yeah.
And so, I'm flying home, and it's this regret. Okay, so you have this. It's a human emotion. Here we are, guys, that are ministering to a lot of people and caring for people, but at that moment, we feel like we missed.
Yeah.
You missed it. Okay, so how do we get released from that? I know what I've done, but I want to hear what you have to say here.
For me, there was a moment that changed my perspective on it. I was beating myself up. I was depressed. I was so disappointed in myself that I wasn't with my dad when he died. One day, my wife, who is a great speaker and communicator and writer herself, she speaks to me in ways that nobody else can.
Right.
She said, "Clayton, do you really think your dad's in heaven right now angry at you? Do you really think that your dad is bitter? Your dad is with Jesus. Jesus was with your dad when he died. You need to let Jesus redeem this regret. Let it go."
Yeah.
And I made a decision right then. And I still have to make that decision every day.
That's right. I think it's a pride thing for me too, because we're high achievers, high performers, and we hate to disappoint.
Yep.
Especially
Especially
at
your own
that
dad.
point of death. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I'm so glad you're here. You should write books and be a speaker. The book is called Stronger. You got to get the book. Are you dealing with regret over your parenting, your grandparenting, your marriage, whatever it may be in life? If there are regrets, you need help today. We would love to be able to get this resource into your hand. Clayton does a great job. How Hard Times Reveal God's Greatest Power.